I'm so excited that you've taken time out to tune in to the Ella Johnson Show. I hope that you enjoy the broadcast. I hope you'll laugh. I hope you'll cry. But I hope that you'll be moved by what you hear. Well, my guests are very special to me, and so are you. So I want you to sit back, enjoy the show. What you can become depends on what you can overcome. Yes, I'm so excited about my children's book that's coming out, and I'm looking for some mahogany kids. I'll tell you about that later. And now it's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Hello, everyone. It's time for the Ella Johnson Show. As you can tell, I have the beautiful Irene Wilkins with me tonight. Listen, we're going to have a good conversation tonight, because if you have friends out there that you know got this PPP loans and they're in a little bit of trouble, you might want to tell them to tune into this broadcast, because Irene is going to help us navigate through all of that tonight. But let me tell you about my beautiful guest. She is from Bakersfield, California. I was going to say Carolina, but she's not from Carolina. She's beautiful. She's from Bakersfield, California. She is the founder of Achieve It Business Solutions. She's a mom of 4 girls, and she's been married for 5 years. And she's here with us tonight to talk about PPP loans and more. Welcome to the broadcast, Irene.
Thank you so much, Ella. I appreciate you for allowing me to be on your show today. I am so excited, you guys, because this topic is near and dear to me. It's something that I feel like there's just a huge lack of education on. And as we know, applied knowledge is power. So I'm really excited to share with you guys the knowledge that I've obtained, my expertise, and what we can do, hopefully, if you've received this loan and you're worried, which is what a lot of people are experiencing right now.
Oh, yeah. And you should be, because some of you, come on now, you got these PPP loan and do not have a business, but we'll get into all of that later. I want to share with you guys some things first. Tomorrow is my birthday, so I am very excited. This is my last broadcast before I'm a year older. And I'm not going to say, the big 5-1. It's chapter 5-1 tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. To God be all the glory, right? Because I'm here. But I'm excited, guys. Look at this. I got my autographed copy of Circumstantial Evidence from Pete Early today. And he said, to Ella Johnson, a crusader for truth and justice. Now, for those of you that have no idea what this is all about and why I'm excited about this, right now we have a petition out there to reopen the investigation for Rhonda Morrison. Now, for the newcomers to the Ella Johnson Show, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, back in 1986, Rhonda Morrison was killed in my hometown. Did you guys see the movie Just Mercy? Did you see that movie, Just Mercy, Irene?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that movie was based on my hometown. That actually happened in my hometown. So we are very familiar with the story. And I felt like this was a good opportunity for us to get something that we didn't get then. Johnny D was sent directly to death row to die for something that he didn't do. Now, if you know the story and you saw the movie, you know that he was exonerated for that crime. However, no one paid the price for it. And from what I understand, the killer could possibly be still there. Now, we can't let that slide, because if we do, that means someone in Monroe County will have gotten away with murder. So we have a petition out there. Sign it. Go to my page. I need every single one of you. I know you may not know anything about it, but sign it anyway. It's a good cause, because at some point, once we get the signatures that we need, we're going to go to the Attorney General for Alabama and say, listen, we need this to be reopened. No one paid the price. None of the officials that coerced. Because listen, guys, it goes a little deeper than just a man getting accused. But the police department, they are the ones that conspired against this man to get him put there. So this isn't just a regular, oops, we made a mistake. No. They meant to do it. And we can't let that ride. So that's one thing. But I am excited that you guys are here. If you're watching from Facebook, please share the broadcast. If you're watching from YouTube, just subscribe to the channel, because you're going to come back. You're going to come back and watch more broadcasts. But we're going to get into this topic tonight. Isn't she beautiful? Irene is she's just glowing, right? And she got this look together like 2 minutes ago. I'm sitting here watching her, and she just glows. I love you, and I appreciate you for coming on. But guys, listen, what we're going to talk about, if you just tuned into the broadcast tonight, we're going to talk about PPP loans. That's Payment Protection Program. And a lot of people got these loans, and now you're kind of stuck because you're being questioned about what you put on that application. So we're going to get into it. Irene, tell me exactly, what is the PPP loan? What is it supposed to do?
Okay, so the PPP loan is the Paycheck Protection Loan. And the title is exactly what it's meant for, you guys. Paycheck protection. So as we all know, we've experienced this pandemic together. And because of that, the government came up with a part of the CARES Act, which entailed that those who have had a business, in order for those businesses not to get shut down, what could they do to help so that individuals wouldn't lose their livelihood? So they came up with the Paycheck Protection Loan, also known as the PPP loan. And so that was to help with three main areas. That was to help with paychecks, whether it's yours. You could be you could have your own business and be the only employee, and you were eligible for it. But then also, if you had employees that you needed to pay, then that was available to you. The second part was for rent. So there was a percentage up to 25% for your office space to help if you have an office in home, things like that. And then the third one, it was for utilities. So the cost of keeping up your business, that was to be applied for the loan also. So for those of you out there who used it for any other reason, then it was not valid. And so that's what we are experiencing with a lot of individuals. And I just want to share, I was up late at night. Ella, you may have come across my video, the PPP loan video that I had online.
That's exactly why I reached out to you. Yeah.
Yes. So I was actually on my way to bed. And I made that video because I saw an influencer on Facebook telling people that this is their opportunity to start a business. And when I heard that, I mean, I follow this person, and they've gone through their serial entrepreneur, tragedy to triumph, and all those things. So I just resonated with this individual. And when I saw that, I commented and I was like, this is absolutely not what the loan is for. Well, this individual is telling people to inbox so that they can do the applications for people. So most of you out there who've gotten the loan, most of you didn't do your own application. All of a sudden, we had all these loan application gurus out there who decided, hey, I can help you do your loan. You give me a percentage either ahead of time or once you get your money, and you'll be squared away. The problem with that is so many of these people actually just found this as an opportunity to make money. And it's unfortunate. And when I saw this individual say that, I said, you know what, I need to say something about these loans. The video was watched by thousands of people. And I was so shocked because I didn't realize how many people had already gotten the loan in our community. And so when it's so important for me to help people become educated, because when we know better, we do better. And
Right,
that's the
right.
reality. And a lot of people feel like it's too late. What am I going to do? I'm going to jail now, and these are things that we all should take into account before we sign on the dotted line.
Now let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning because we're going to get that at the end as far as what they need to do. But how is it, Irene, that they were able to even apply without a legitimate business?
Isn't that the question that we all want to know? And as the saying goes, as long as you owe someone, they'll never be broke. I truly feel like that was the mindset of the government with these loans. That as long as we're already in almost a full recession, right? So for people to go out for these loans, you now owe the government. So as long as you don't want to go to jail, you're going to pay it back, right? And you're going to figure a way out. So I've been doing taxes about 14 years now, certified tax preparer. There has never been a time where I saw such a loan be available without a business plan, right? Normally you get a loan for your business. You have to show them some type of trail that states, hey, I'm going to be able to pay this back. So this was one of the first where you didn't have to do that. As well as there was people getting this PPP loan with one bank statement, one. Now, normally you have to provide months, if not a
Right.
full year tax return for a PP or for any type of loan. So those two things right there were the biggest red flags for me, is seeing how easy it was. All you had to do is say you had a business. You didn't have to have an LLC or an S corp or a corporation. You could be a sole proprietor, and there wasn't even individuals who had to have EIN numbers, which
I was
is,
just going to ask that.
yes. So
Wow.
for people who don't know, an EIN is your business, like your business social security number.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you don't even have to prove that you have um, your business solidified that way. So people jumped on top of it, and it's unfortunate because it was too easy. You know the saying, if something
It's,
sounds too good to be true, it
it
usually is.
probably is.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, this was that situation.
So let me ask you a question then. So they have this business loan, they've applied and boom, they get an email says you're approved. Then but what is it that made the IRS with these people that are getting caught? What is it that was a red flag for them at this point? Now that they've gotten the money, now all of a sudden they see. Why didn't they
Right.
see it before? What were the red flags that made them take a look at certain people?
You know what? Honestly, the red flags were the fact that, again, not having an EIN, not having your business set up legitimately, that the IRS can access that information at any time. So as soon as they decide to run your business name in their system and they see you're not set up anywhere properly, that's a red flag right there. That's an immediate reason for an audit. And so that's what was going on. I think the money going way too quickly. Um, it's tons of businesses. I mean, I believe it's 90% of businesses are small business. So there's tons of those in this country. But just the fact that it went so quickly, it was going to the wrong places. It was going to businesses who shouldn't have received it because they make millions and they had cash on hand. Those are the type of things that made the IRS say, you know what, we're going to immediately go into audit stage. And I
Oh
think
wow.
that deep down, I do believe that the government already knows when it comes to fraud. Like I said, I've been doing taxes for years. And so I can say for the last 4 years, they've been cracking down on small business ownership. And if you file your taxes and say that you own a business, at this point, this last year, almost every one of my clients who has a business got a letter from the IRS saying, hey, we want you to prove something else to us to show. So those are some of the things that's going on right now. They're really cracking down.
Wow. So, okay. Now, this is the thing. Now, those people that got these loans, Irene, they're excited. They're like, oh
Mhm.
my God, I could get this. We can go on vacation. And immediately, because you made a very good point. You said the payment protection is just that. It's for paychecks.
Yeah.
But people took it, went on vacation, money was going from different accounts. So what is it that I know you said it was for rent. The check is supposed to be for utilities and things to keep the business afloat. Pay people that so you can retain these employees, right?
Yes.
But people aren't doing that. So at this point, they've gotten that letter that says we need to audit. And usually with the IRS, with those audits, they tell you exactly what they need,
Yes.
right? They say we need this, and there's no way around that.
Yes.
So talk to us about when someone gets that letter, what is the first thing they need to do?
So the first thing that they need to do is they need to respond within 30 days. And you don't want to wait to respond on the 29th day. So you want to immediately look at what they're requiring. The requirements for some of those, I was actually just going to pull that up really quick. Some of the requirements would be your, see, it goes deep because a lot of people just thought, oh, I'll make rent receipts and that's fine. No, they actually will like access to your bank statements further than what you actually gave them. They have the right to ask, and most of the audits are asking for your mortgage statements, your personal mortgage, your personal rent statements if you rent a home. They are asking for months and months of utilities, how your canceled checks. They're asking for, if you said you paid 20 employees, they want all of those employees' names. They want to see the paychecks for every one of those employees. And they're going to dig so deep that most people do not have that together. I mean, there's a lot of people who do, if they have CPA or a licensed professional that helps them, but a lot of business owners who just do everything on their own, there's some of the things that they're asking for that they may have never kept, just because why would they? If you don't know taxes or if you don't know what the IRS requirements are for your business on a regular, why would you read the fine print, so to speak, on something like this? Because like you said, Ella, the first thing was like, oh, in a day I got approved for $20,000. Now, for those of you out there who had someone do your application, let me tell you what that means. If you were approved for $20,000, that means on the application they put, or someone, whoever put that you netted, which means after expenses, you took home at least $100,000. Now, for most people with a small business, they're the only one working in that business. That's unrealistic until you get to a certain point. But if you just started your business, having $100,000 take home is a lot. Now, here's the
Wow.
kicker. For some of you who apply for the PPP before you actually did your taxes, now your taxes have to match with what you put on the PPP loan. So now you're going to be taxed on $100,000 take home.
Oh, and see, these people that do these applications know what formula to put in there because they don't really care whether it's true or not.
Yes.
They just want their piece of the pie.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So in California here, self-employment tax is 15.3%, which means off of 100,000, you're already not only owing what you got for the PPP, that 20,000, but now you also owe the IRS that $15,000 for self-employment tax. So when you put those together, that is a lot of money that you owe. And those PPP loans are for 2 years. So you have to pay that back in 2 years. And when you owe the IRS, they want you to make those payments for your taxes immediately.
Now, what is it, the forgiveness part of it? Isn't it that if you meet their criteria for the money, they forgive the loan? Is that how does that work?
Yes. So if you meet the criteria, there is the forgiveness loan, and there was 2 steps to that. So being able to get that forgiven, that's what a lot of people were banking on. But again, if you are audited and you can't prove everything that they're asking, that forgiveness is null and void now.
Right. So I've heard that there were, one of my friends did get a letter. It wasn't from the PPP loan. It was just the tax season to like 2019. And I do know this much, that H&R Block does have a service for people that need to be represented to IRS. You're aware of that? Is that the best way to go, Irene, or do it yourself?
Yes, at this point, if you know that there's, you did something that maybe wasn't all the way legitimized, I would absolutely reach out to a CPA or, like you said, H&R Block, an individual who has tax knowledge.
Right.
Because this isn't just the business side of things. Now you're owing, and the PPP loan was also or is also monitored by the IRS. So no matter what bank you went through, Blue Acorn, things like that, the IRS has access to all that information. So even if you file your taxes and you omit that, they're going to be, the systems pretty much intertwine with each other. So they're going to be able to find out this information. And that's why a lot of these audits are happening also, because you can't really hide from that. And I want to stress something. If the IRS, some people maybe they forget to file a W-2. It could be $100. Within 2 years, you will get a letter from the IRS saying, "Hey, you did not file this W-2. If you owe money, there's a penalty. And your penalty is from the 2 years that you haven't filed." So if they are going to come after you for not filing a $100 W-2, how much more so would they come
Oh,
after you if you take 15, 20, $30,000 from them and you have to pay it back? Because you're still going to owe it. But if they can prove that it was fraudulent, now they can get you for jail time. Now they can get you for interest on this money. There's so many things. So your liability is so much more. So why wouldn't they just give it to whoever's willing to take it? And I really feel like because of the lack of education and understanding as far as the penalties, as far as your liabilities with the tax portion of it. I think a lot of people just saw everybody getting it and said, "This is really easy money. I should do it too." And I had tons of people reach out to me from all over the country, even after the video, and me also saying, I don't do PPP loans for people because I don't feel that the benefit overall, unless your business is set up so clean, I don't feel that it's best interest for most people. And so even after saying all of that, I still have people say, "You sure you don't want to do the PPP loan for me? I'll pay you for it." And I'm like,
it's not worth it.
it's not. And if
Yeah.
we want to use some terminology, in no way do I want to offend anybody. But what I will say is I think that greed got in the way of a lot of people. Instead of doing things the right way and being able to start businesses and actually allowing their businesses to flourish the right way, they saw quick money and decided to go that way. And for those of you out there who have children, responsibilities, I would love for you guys to take a moment after this show and really think so that we don't make these mistakes again. Is it worth possibly risking losing a business, even if you have a legitimate business? Is it worth the risk of losing it because you went after something that you really weren't eligible for because you didn't have it set up correctly? Or if you didn't have a business, is it worth that time away from your family if you actually do go to jail for it?
Oh, wow. So you're saying that because I was looking online today, and I pulled up some of the fraud cases. I mean, they actually list names, what they're charged with. People are actually being charged with wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering. And are people actually doing time behind these PPP loans?
Yes. So right now, most of these people are actually going through the court system because it's still so fresh. I don't feel that the government or the IRS actually took the audits to the next level until fairly recently. But there are going to be a lot of people who are doing time, because what we also need to remember is if you take any monies past $5,000, that is a felony. So when you're talking about money laundering and things like that, yeah, you guys are people out there are getting 15, 20, $50,000. Somebody who watched the video said that they were approved for $150,000 take home from that PPP, which means that they at least had to have said they made in their business a profit of over $300,000. So if that person would have actually, and they said they didn't do it because they saw the video. If he would have done that one right there, he would have absolutely been prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Wow. So what if people say, okay, I messed up, Irene. Can I just give it back? Can you do that?
Hopefully, depending on who you actually got the loan through, hopefully you can. And for those of you who feel like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have did this, that is the first thing that you should do. Reach out to the lender and ask them, what are the steps? You don't have to go into details, guys, about oh, this person did a fraudulent application. I didn't know what they put on it, because at the end of the day, they don't care. You signed on, and it's unfortunate, but you signed on the dotted line stating that everything in that application was true. So you're held responsible. I feel that the people who are doing these applications, they should be held responsible too, because they know that they were wrong. For most of those people did put fraudulent information. But for those of you out there who want to give the money back, please reach out immediately to your lender. Let them know, hey, this loan actually isn't in my best interest. I want to know what I can do to give back this money as soon as possible. And if you still have some of that money, do not spend any more of it. Give that back as soon as possible, and then let this be fuel for you guys. If you actually have a legitimate business, go hard in your business so that you can get that money to pay back the rest as soon as possible. And hopefully you're able to repay it before there's an audit done, and hopefully nothing happens to you.
Wow. This is a lot to take in.
Yes.
Because I'm sure those of you that are watching this broadcast, some of y'all might be a little scared now, because I'm sure the money is gone. Because most people, I'm sure that when they did the PPP loans, they were doing it because they had a need, a need, and that took care of the need. And now it's like, okay, well, I've gotten the money. Now you're having, it's like buyer's remorse. It's like, okay, I can they start putting back into it before those 2 years, to start paying back into it?
Yes. So on their contract, I've talked to people who have a Blue Acorn account, and different ones have said that inside of there, they're allowed to pay it back. It doesn't have to be the minimum amount. So for those of you out there who pay it as soon as possible, I can't stress that enough. The sooner you do it, the less likely for the audit. And when you've already paid it back, the likelihood that the government is going to say, okay, you know what, you paid this back, but you still did something wrong in the beginning, we're going to prosecute. There's so many people that they'd rather spend the time on who hasn't paid it back. So that would be your best bet. Get it done as soon as possible. Don't wait to call the lender. Don't take 24 hours. I always say this. You getting this information right now, I know it's a lot. I know it's scary. And I also know that there's been multimillionaires who have gone bankrupt, who have gotten in trouble for not having their taxes secure. So this isn't the first time that things like this happen. So you take 24 hours, you feel whatever emotions that you feel, and you come up with a game plan after that. And let your game plan be to call your lender first and foremost. what I'm finding out is that some of these lenders have already set up a criteria or rules to pay it back for those who may not have needed as much as they got approved for. So there's a lot of those lenders out there who are well aware that even without the fraud, it may have been too much. 50,000 may have not been what you needed in the long run. So they're willing to help because they want to get paid at the end of the day. They don't want you to go to jail and they can't get the money back. You know, that's a risk that they're not really trying to take. So I think a lot of them will work with you, but make sure you give them a call. And I have heard that it's hard to get through with so many people applying and having these loans. Don't give up. Keep trying. Even if you try once a day, you'll get through. It's the same thing with the IRS. Please do not call the IRS and tell on yourself. I've had a lot of people ask me that. Should I call the IRS and just let them know what happened? No. They are the last ones. Let's try to handle this before we get them involved because they have no, there's just straight rules with them. They can't empathize with you. They can't, give you the benefit of the doubt. They just have to go by whatever their rules that are set in place. So we don't want to involve them if we don't have to.
So if the PPP loan is being paid back anyway, why are people getting in trouble if they got to pay it back? Now I can see the ones that are forgiven for it. Yeah, you got it fraudulently. But what about the ones that already know I got to pay it back? Why is that a big deal?
It's a big deal if they did not meet the full criteria. So if you are rebranding, restructuring your business, you're not supposed to use that money for that. Now, I think that's where a lot of the confusion came in because people thought, well, I'm keeping my business afloat because I'm making sure my advertisement is where it should be. I'm growing my business. And with most loans, that is what it's for, to use however you see fit for your business, most business loans. But with this one, there was specific criteria. And there's only 3 reasons. And outside of that 3 reasons, you are not supposed to use it. So with those who are absolutely set on paying it back, if in your reflection you realize that there's something that you use the money for outside of those 3 reasons, you do have some cause for worry.
Wow. So the first thing in the audit they're going to look at is, where did this money go? How was it spent?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
And there's a lot of people out there who got the money, paid off a car, got the money, got surgery, took a trip, all these things. So since they'll be able to get access, whether you grant it or not, they can get a court order. Since they'll be able to get access to your bank statements, then what if you got the money and the next day they see that you paid off a car, you're actually going to have to prove that you didn't use that money for the car. And how can you do it if you use the money for the car? You know what I mean?
Now it's different with the other one, right? The EIDL.
Yes.
That one's different. The
yes.
PPP is the one that's locking people up.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Ooh, Jesus. I'm so glad.
Know.
Ooh, I knew the Lord was speaking. Listen, I really do feel bad because I do understand, the pandemic, people were desperate. They made it sound easy, and it was apparently to get it. But now it's like, oh my God, you have all these people. And now they actually broadcast it because there's a website. And I personally went to this website. If you go to a state, you can actually break it down to a certain city and see everybody who got one of these loans. They have your business out there. They have it out there. It's online, and you can see who got it. They see the name of your business, I think, is on there, and how much you got.
Yeah.
So I was just checking a certain city. I was just curious.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, these people don't even have a business. I was saying councilmen. Irene, I'm talking about people that are city councilmen that were getting these loans.
Wow. Now, here's what I want people, we won't go too far into this, but do you remember, you know how when there's injustice and someone is shot by the police and how long it takes them to release the tape, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we also know that when Nipsey Hussle got shot, immediately they released the video of his shooting death, right? So what I'd like people to do is think a little bit deeper. Why would they give now in most loans that you get, of course, if your business is an LLC or a S corp, like a lot of things with your business is public information. But why would they release everyone's amount, um, business name? Why did they do that? That's something to think about. And for
That's a good
me,
question.
I feel that that was for people to look up, and if someone knows so and so, they
Mm.
say, "You know what? They don't have a business. I'm telling." And a lot of people are telling on individuals
Are they
who
getting
they
something
know.
for it? Is there a reward for it?
There isn't. But what there is, as we know, humans, when someone else has something that they don't, there's a lot of envy involved, whether it's valid or not. Now, is everyone who does that, somebody who's envious? No, you might have a person who's just, hey, I saw it and I want to do the right thing and I'm going to tell. And if that's a moral compass that they have, I'm not here to judge that. But for a lot of people, it's no different than if someone starts a food truck business and someone finds out they don't have the right licensing. I'm telling on you. So I could shut
Mhm.
it down because I didn't have the courage to have the food truck business. Now, a lot of people have that mindset and it's unfortunate. But it's also unfortunate that and I've seen this mostly in the Black community, we haven't educated ourselves enough to know when something is really for us and when it's not. And with these type of situations with this loan, there definitely should have been more education into it because if it was, so many of these people would not have signed up for it. And I think that if there's anything that's learned from this situation is one, before you sign any contract, it does not matter who it's with, you need to read that whole contract. What you are doing is you're signing over certain rights to yourself or you're agreeing to a legality and you expect the person who wrote it to do the right thing. And that is too much power to give to someone when it comes to your livelihood. You should always, always read your contracts because if a lot of people would have read those contracts, they would say, you know what, this doesn't sound right. There's something about this. Okay, the interest rate, there's just so many things that would have produced red flags. Even some of these loans actually had the criteria of audits and things, the paperwork that they gave to go along with it. So even that, people reading that would have seen, I don't have that. I don't have proof of that. I didn't set up my business like that. So it's important to make sure that whatever it is that you sign that's legally binding, you make sure you read that because most of us have families, most of us have responsibilities, and none of us want to be taken away from those the gifts that we
Absolutely.
have.
Absolutely. Another thing, I'm glad that we're talking about this because, we're just getting through tax season as well.
Yes.
And that's also a lot of people. I mean, I think now the climate, they're just in everybody's business, whether
Yes.
you had a business loan, whether it's just you doing your taxes. And there's an issue that I want to address because I think this is one of the biggest issues, especially in our community, Irene, claiming kids that are not yours.
Mm.
We have to talk about that.
We have to. Look, I got the chills when you said that because it is so important. What people have to realize is that the government has gotten really smart with linking systems. So if you get aid of any sort, even if it's just, out in California, it's called Medi-Cal. So even if you just get medical aid, they are able to see, and when you sign any application saying, hey, I need assistance, they ask you certain questions. How much do you make? Do you own a car? Do you own a business? All of those things. And so you have to understand that they compare these systems now and they're linked very closely. So if you get unemployment, which is another huge thing that's going on right now, you're also getting cash aid, food stamps, Medi-Cal, and then you went out for this PPP loan, and then you let someone borrow one of your children and you're keeping three of them. All of this is going to come back, and it's getting heavier and heavier. When I say 95% of my clients this year, have kids. There was only, I don't have very many clients who are just single and just work. So even with having their children, the government, the IRS is auditing people saying, oh, you said this is your child, right? Well, just to be sure, please provide certain information, especially if it's a newborn and you've never filed for them, especially if you ever have let someone use your child and you say, you know what, I'm going to start using my own children. They're asking for proof. And when you have to provide proof for your children, and if you're a business owner, almost every business owner that I've seen for the last 2 years has had to provide proof if they're expecting the earned income child tax credit. And that's the one that most people get when they're in a certain bracket, up to, usually it's a single person up to 40 something thousand, and then if you're married, like 60. So they're asking for proof of that now. So you have to provide school records, immunizations, birth certificates, social securities, but they don't just ask for proof of your child. That's their way of also saying, you know what, and since you said you're self-employed, we need some receipts. We need a couple months of receipts. We need a couple months of bank statements. And we need all of these things for you to prove it. So you went from only thinking, well, it's easy to show that these are my kids, to now being questioned about your business. And a lot of people don't have their business information together. So one thing that'll happen is they're holding your tax return. And if you don't provide that within 30 days of them asking, then they don't have to give you any of your return, not just the earned income credit. There's so much with that. So they have to give it to you, but in order for you to get it, you have to respond. So sometimes people get so scared, they're like, you know what?
Oh
I'm
no.
just going to ignore this. No, please answer them, because you can correspond back and forth. But if you don't answer within that 30 days, you're basically saying, you know what? You guys don't have to give that to me. So there are some things that tax preparers, CPAs can do, like reconstructing your income. So it's something that you have to sign stating, hey, I made this much. We help you get your receipts together, all of that. Expect that to be an extra cost because it's hours of work. But
Mm,
there are ways. So I don't want anyone to just say, you know what, I did do hair, but because I didn't keep receipts, I'm not even going to file. There are ways to do it. But moving forward, you guys, we have to do things the right way. We don't
right.
make the rules, and the rules weren't written to fully benefit us. We all know that, whether people choose to acknowledge it or not. There's a lot of rules that were set up not to be beneficial for people who look like us. And so it's important that you're smarter. You're
Right.
smarter. And when you're educated, guess what? You're able to apply that knowledge, and it works in the long run.
Well, let me give you a scenario, Irene, because this could be the scenario for a lot of people watching this podcast. Let's say let's say you're a grandmother and you're watching the kids live with you. They're in your household, but someone else claimed the kids. Now, when you go to do your taxes, you find out that they've already been claimed. What do you do? Because from what I understand, you can continue on with the return, but it has to be mailed. It won't be able to be done electronically because the kids have already been claimed. And then once IRS gets that, they're like, okay, we got 2 people claiming these kids. Somebody's lying.
Yes.
So let's say that person that already claimed has already received their big fat $9,000 check. And the person who actually has the kids, so then when IRS sees that, will they confiscate that check back? Will they make them pay it back? I mean, what happens with that scenario?
Yes, they will. So they will make them pay it back. For those out there who actually have a legitimate claim, go through with it. Sometimes people don't because they want to be loyal to family, and that doesn't take away from your loyalty. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And if you are spending the money throughout the year to provide for the younger ones and you're eligible for that claim, it should go to you. And so what the IRS will do is exactly what you said. They'll say, hey, something wasn't right. And once you provide the proof, which would be a doctor's note or a doctor proof that they've gone to the doctor, a school form having, the grandparent on the school forms, a few things like that, and then their birth certificate and everything, that's your proof. So they'll also ask that other person to provide the proof. And if they don't have it, well, that person will owe the $9,000 back, and then they'll give it to the grandmother who actually deserves or is eligible for the $9,000.
Wow. So you made a very interesting point. You said the systems talk to each other. So you think you're saying something over here, but they already know you're lying. It's
Yeah.
like IRS is like, where did they live? Okay, well, this school record says that they lived at this address. So how
Yes.
could they be in 2 places at one time?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so there is, so the credit can't go to 2 people. There is one situation where if the children stayed 6 months here, 6 months here, that you're able to get certain portions, but because the credit is there's also rules. Whoever made the most income may be one of the rules. Whoever paid more for the children may be one of the rules. But the reality is it is only meant for one person or one family member, things like that, one head of household to be able to be eligible for that credit. Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
What I understand too is that one of the penalties for doing this and filing fraudulently, you won't be able to file to get that earned income tax credit for like 5 years. Is it something like that as the penalty
Yes.
for the people that did it wrong?
Yeah. So if it's found out that it is fraud, there's actually a question when you are doing the earned income checklist section, and it asks, was there a disallowance? So was there a time where they weren't allowed to get this credit? And you mark yes or no. And as a tax preparer, we actually have to ask that question. We have to ask it. We also have to mark that the client said that they weren't or were disallowed, and then we both sign it. So it's important for everyone to be truthful, and it both can get in trouble. So like for me, if I don't do my due diligence, I actually can get a $5,000 fine for each thing that's done incorrectly when it comes
Really?
to them getting money back. Yeah, so it is very important. I tell people all
Now
the
you gave
time.
me chills then.
Yes. And so when you hear about, actually, I was just talking to a client today about somebody in our area who was doing fraudulent returns and is still in jail after 10 years because they were doing fraudulent returns and making up businesses and all that stuff. So when I talk to new clients, I say, you know what? Um, for me and my prayers, I ask to have integrity and be righteous in my business. So I can't do it. I actually lost a client this year who wanted me to do that same scenario that you said, wanted me to claim children that wasn't theirs, and I said, I can't do that because I can get in trouble too. And I don't want you to get in trouble. And I know
But did
sometimes
you
the money looks good.
right. But did she say that, okay, they're not my kids, but I got
Uh-huh.
a couple of kids. Oh, so you already knew the story. You
Yes,
knew she was lying, but she
yes,
wanted to put them on there to get that big return.
yes.
Wow.
And
Because a lot of
what people also need to know, you're not allowed to claim, your boyfriend or your girlfriend's kids. It has to be, you have to be married in order to claim kids who aren't biologically related to you. So nieces, nephews, you can claim them. You have to have proof that you took care of them, but you can claim them. But that's what a lot of the issue was. That was that particular situation, was that it was a girlfriend's children, and they wanted
wow.
to claim him. And I said I couldn't do it. I was like, at the end of the day, um, if that person got aid immediately, the welfare department would be able to see that there was a tax return with those children because they're covered under the aid. And so then you're going to get something from them. The IRS is going to get something from them. And you're going to get something from the IRS. So you're going to, she can lose her aid. You can lose your return and also the penalties that come with the fraudulent. Is it really worth it? Is the question that we actually
Oh,
need to be asking ourselves.
now, Irene, this is another thing because now with Biden in office, we have all of these goodies that are coming their way, the people that have kids, um, whether they're theirs or not, because they filed them on their tax return. You're going to get, like, I think there's like $300 per child under 6. Then you have $250 per child over 6, all the way till December, I think it is, that they're going to get.
Yes,
And that's going to start July 15th. Now,
yes,
I think that people that claimed kids that you don't have the proof, they should also be a little worried. Correct?
absolutely. Because it's going to come back. I found out recently, I'm so happy that you're starting July 1st. I believe you'll be able to opt out of that credit. It is for those who like having a bigger return at the beginning of the year, then you may want to opt out because whatever you get from that, it'll be deducted from your usual earned income credit. So for those who think it's two separate ones, it's not. It's going to apply to the credit you're used to getting when you file your taxes. So if you want that lump sum, go ahead and opt out. And if you're okay with it, it's 4 months, right? 7 months. So it's not the end of the world if you get that, if you really need it. With my clients, a lot of times if you do taxes, you can actually do advances, and you can give them their money very quickly, and they pay this high fee. And, I'm the type of person, let me give you all the facts before you sign up for it. Could
Right.
I get a lot of incentives for having people get those advances? Absolutely. But there was a point where I was a single mother and I got those advances. And when now you get your return and it's $700 less than what it could have been because you wanted the money two weeks, usually 10 days earlier, is it really worth it? So when people ask me for an advance, I let them know, can you wait 10 days? Because I don't want you to pay $700 in fees if you don't have the money right now.
Right.
10 days is not going to make a difference. And I wish more, I mean, granted, you're allowed to do it, it's legal. But as somebody who has been a part of the struggle, as somebody who has, been a single parent, I just feel it's really important to not just let money be the object of everything. The integrity for me is so important. And I continue to get blessed with, just having the opportunity to be on your show and just sharing my knowledge is a blessing. And I know it's because of not having money be the root of my motivation, if you will. I
Right.
want us to be educated as people. I want
Right.
us to have the opportunity to have amazing businesses, to have our taxes done correctly, to have to hire CPAs because our businesses are booming. And we can't do that unless we give back and we help one another up. We cannot have the crab mentality, crabs in a bucket mentality.
That's
If
right.
I'm not winning right now, please let me help you win. Because I know that by doing those things, the blessings will come. And so we really got to change the narrative. We are not going to do better. We're not going to get out of these situations with loans and putting ourselves in these type of situations if we don't help one another become educated and do better.
I really wish I had brought you on before this PPP came out, because I think we could have prevented a lot of people from signing up. Now we're at the back end trying to keep people from going to jail, you
Yes.
know, because I don't want that. And that's why when I saw your video, I was like, oh, no, 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 I need to bring her on, because this is very good information for my audience and her audience and everybody. We need to get a hold of this thing, because nobody's going to tell you. You're
Right.
a tax preparer. Nobody's going to tell you. Now, this is another thing, because you brought up something interesting. You said that the person that's doing your taxes for you could get in trouble if all of the information is not there, or they did something wrong on the return, causing you to get a return. In other words, they're trying to fudge things around so you can get that return. What, and you said that they get what, like $5,000 penalty?
That's
So
the first one.
basically, yeah. So basically, we have to be more mindful of who we allow to do our taxes.
Yes. Please.
What should we look for? What should we look for before we decide to let that person do our taxes?
I would definitely say look at reviews. If they have one, do they have a legitimate business? Just because someone can input numbers does not mean they're a skilled tax preparer. You actually have to be educated on some of the laws. You have to be educated on how certain credits can apply to you specifically. So there's a lot of questions that a tax preparer needs to be able to ask you to know what the right fit. Are you going to itemize your tax return, or do you get the standard deduction? These are all things. If you pay medical expenses and things like that, it may be in your benefit to itemize, but I wouldn't know that unless I ask you these questions. So if they do not have a legitimate business, I would definitely say, please don't go to that person. I've heard a lot of people say, gosh, paying someone $200 or $250 to do my tax return, that's a lot. If you own a business, it's usually starting between $300, $350, something like that. You want to pay for things that really could hurt you if it's not done correctly. So when it comes to things like your livelihood, your taxes, things like that, please, it's an investment in you. The beautiful thing is you can learn. There's some great tax preparers out here who will walk you through what they're doing, who will explain everything that's going on. And that is one issue that arises, is when your tax preparer is very secretive in what they're doing. Just drop off the papers, I'll do it, and then just sign. I have a really neat system that you're able to do your tax return from the comfort of your home. It's a secure system, but I tell all of my clients, I'll do my part. When I send it over for the signature, please look at everything. Take the time. It doesn't take that long, but just look, make sure the social security numbers are right, even though I triple check. Make sure the date of births are right, because once you submit that, if that's incorrect, it just takes longer. So
Right.
granted, we're not perfect. There are times where we may make a mistake, and hopefully the mistake, if it costs, the person does have the right to file a sort of complaint, and then that's when they'll be investigated, and hey, you'll owe a fine. And we actually have to have insurance. We have to have bonds and omissions. We have to have all that stuff, so if we ever are fined, we're protected. But I always say, make sure, look at their reviews, look at their Google reviews, their business online. Make sure people are saying they do a good job. And if they make a mistake, talk to them. a lot of people nowadays go immediately from 1 to 20. So if there's a
Yeah,
mistake, they're bashing them and stuff. We're human too. And
that's true.
sometimes mistakes happen. So let them do the best that they can to rectify the situation. Um, it's really important. And also understand that there's levels to tax preparers. So if there's information that you may want them to look up, some things I don't have access to. Unless you're an enrolled agent, which is almost like a CPA, it's years of studying, it's testing, all these things. Um, then you're able to get a lot of information from the IRS. So be patient and understand that when we do a tax return, we're the liaison. We do it with our knowledge and we send it off to the IRS, and then it's kind of out of our hands. So there's a little bit that we can look into, but most of the time the client actually has to look into it.
So with these PPP loans, let's go back to that because you got some people there. They're in their prayer closet right about
Right.
now, Irene. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't listen anymore." So at some point, they're gonna come for you, right? Um, because you got it, and you don't have a legitimate business. So
Yes.
what we're learning from this show tonight is, if that's you, and I know there are a lot of you out there with that situation, based on what Irene is saying, the best thing to do with that situation is to go ahead and try to give the money back. Don't spend any more.
Hmm.
Don't spend any more. Give what you have left back, and then start trying to repay it.
Yes.
Is that what you would say? And you're going
Yes.
to pay the lender. You're going to go back to the lender and say, "Look,
Yeah.
can I go ahead and set a payment plan to go ahead and get this paid?" Oh my gosh.
Yes. And
Because if
it's
you can at
okay. Most
least,
of the time, it's okay to pay back. The lenders usually are okay with you paying back more than what was already set up your monthly. But yes, just
okay,
get it taken care of. Don't avoid it.
because when the IRS comes, at least you can say, "I'm already doing this, I'm already
Yes.
doing that." And like you said, they don't need to know why you fraudulently got this money. You don't want to bring that up, but they'll at least have some type of leniency. You think,
Yes.
if they see that you're
I think it's kind of like when you're a kid and your parents are like, if you just told the truth, you get in less trouble. It's kind of
right,
that situation. So if you get a handle on it before, you're less likely. They see you're taking control and trying to do the right thing. So the goal or the hope is that they say, you know what? Pay this back. You might get a fine, you guys. You might get a fine, you might get interest, but it's still better than jail time. And so that's
absolutely.
why I say get on top of it right now. Like for those of you out there watching who know that this applies to you, call tomorrow. Don't wait. Just call tomorrow and find out what you need to do and set that up correctly. And if you do have a business and your business wasn't where it needed to be, if there is anything that should be fuel for you, it's this, so that you, one, get this taken care of before any major consequences happen, and two, so that you never have to be in this position again. We won't go deep off into it, but some of the things that we don't really know about is how relevant business credit is. Most people who have business credit did not go after this loan because guess what? They're able to have revolving lines of credit to put into their business and create income off of things like this. But we're not taught this. We're not only not taught this in school, most of our generations were not taught this, or if they were, things were taken from. I mean, we could go down the list. So it's
Right.
self-education right now is the best thing that you can invest in yourself, because once you obtain that knowledge, it doesn't go away. It's there. And then you get like me, you get excited because you're like, oh my gosh, I can share this knowledge with someone else. And if there's only
Yeah,
one person on this live who gains something from it, that's what it's about.
that's right.
We're not out here trying to reach a million people at one time. That most of the time that's unrealistic. But if we can reach a few at a time and it helps them, and then they reach out to a few people at a time and it helps them, guess what? We'll get to a million in no time.
I love it. I love your enthusiasm. I love it.
Thank
I love it.
you.
I when I looked, I saw today, Irene, that there's like up to and over 569 million in fraud cases right now in
Yes.
PPP. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the cases that I would, because I kind of thumbed through them, and I saw that the majority of those cases, big money, 1 million, 2 million, 250,000. It was big money type stuff, not these little $7 and $8 and $10,000 loans, because usually I think they go for the big fish first.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine that they would go for the big fish. Well, I mean, what is it? Now let's talk about all this other stuff, because you did say that people who are getting these checks, they're going to start around July 15th. If you're a parent or you claim some kids, they're going off of the last tax return that was filed
Yes.
for
Yes.
you. Right. And if you had kids on that tax return and you know that you don't have the proof for them, opt out. Do not take the money. And it's unfortunate because the child's parent, who probably really needs it, can't take advantage of this now.
Yes.
That's the sad part about this.
I have definitely experienced that this year, especially with the stimulus as a whole, where maybe 2 years ago, in 2019, joint parents. So one parent was able to claim the kids, and this parent normally has the children. And so now that parent got all the stimuluses. Now there are some ways around that where if you file, it shows, hey, you're eligible. For that last stimulus, the third one that came out, if you didn't file in between like a 3-week bracket or so, then you'll be able to get that credit next year, just like we did for the people who missed out on it this year. So you have some months to get that situated. And if you let someone, I mean, there was family members calling, well, there was families that were calling me and like, you know what, I think my so-and-so got it because of me allowing them to claim. So it's getting to the point now where a lot of people are understanding it's not really worth it. And most people don't claim because they get some form of aid and they don't want to get in trouble. Guys, if you get aid, the government actually says you can like own a business. If you do hair, you can actually do it. The only problem that comes in is when you don't report it. They're not going to take everything from you if you make $5,000 that year in a business, but you have to report it in a timely manner. And there's so much information out here to help you. When people get assistance, they are put in a box in many different ways.
Right.
And part of that box is them limiting themselves because they don't want to lose what is given to them when they meet a certain criteria. And unless you are disabled to where you can't work, you can't do a business, you can't do these things, we have to get out of that mindset that, if you have 3 or 4 kids, that $800 that they're giving a month, we have to be more motivated than that because you could make that in a day. Like Black people right now are making that in a few hours, just doing it the right way. And so I've seen it so much. I've seen so many people in fear. Like if I make a little bit of money, I won't have medical insurance. I won't have this. People who have wealth,
I think
or
that's
who
a
have,
good thing. That's a
yes,
good thing. That's what the system is
isn't
for,
it?
is for you
Yes,
to get off of it. Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
you should be able to pay for your insurance monthly,
Right.
and insurance is high, but with the right plan, you can do it. And I'm a living testimony of that. I used to get aid as a single parent. I got aid. I realized it's not enough to take care of me.
Right.
It wasn't enough at the time. I had 2 daughters. It was not enough to take care of them. And I said, you know what? Um, Here's one suggestion if I could give this out. You guys out there, if you're scared of money for whatever reason, maybe you feel like it's the root of evil, maybe whatever, go take a money personality test. This is all about education. See how your money personality is. And if you realize you are in fear of money, in fear of who you may become if you have some, now you can start educating yourself on, okay, what amount do I want to make to where I don't feel guilty about, having too much? Not everybody wants to be a millionaire, and that's okay. But we definitely need to change the narrative about thinking we have to stay on assistance unless there is some type of reason why you can't move forward in certain areas as far as a
Absolutely.
career goes.
Because we're praying for God to bless us. And then when he does, we're like, but no. If I stop this, he's going to take my stamps away. That's exactly what you asked for, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, and
Yes.
we're definitely by no way are we saying, the stamps are not good, because I've been on it.
Mhm.
You mentioned that you've had it as well, and it did what it needed to do for the
Yes.
time, but it is not a solution. It is just
Yes.
a temporary solution is what it is.
Absolutely.
But I noticed that with the food stamps, they're getting ready to let me see. I think I have it. I have a question here. What did she say?
Okay.
Let's see what she says. If you can't afford it for your kids, try Medicaid for kids. It's easier and you can get it with a job. Paying for your own and still having it for your kids is still a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, Heather. You said it right. And there's so many people out there like Ella, like myself, who help you by educating you. Everything doesn't cost. And learning these things and being set up properly, there's nonprofit foundations started by mothers who were single mothers and had aid, and they just want to help more people to get out of those situations. So if you're being limited, if a person is being limited because they say, I don't have the money to pay for someone to help me get to the next level, there's this beautiful thing. It's like a beautiful thing and not but Google. Google is this
Oh
beautiful,
yeah.
it can be very beautiful if you use
Yes.
it the right way. And
Right.
and we live in an age where there's so much information. Some people, we get overwhelmed with what's out there, but be specific in your questions. I'm like the researcher of everyone that knows me comes to me for everything. Doesn't matter. How do you change, a lug nut on your car? I'm going to figure it out. And I'll
That's me.
probably be there trying to help you do it.
Yeah.
So be specific in your questions when you go to Google. How can I transition from government assistance to self-sufficiency? And I guarantee you there's books, there's free audios, there's YouTube videos, there's somebody who wrote a blog. There's so much information that'll give you steps to getting to the next level with yourself. And when you reach that, the confidence that you feel and what
Yeah.
you're showing your children, that nothing's going to stop you. And I always align it with the most high, because that's how I operate. So when you do things righteously and when you do it with good intent, the blessings come from that. So if you are a praying person and you say, I want to be self-sufficient, God, can you lead me? Guess what?
Right.
Somebody might have prayed before this video came on and heard something that's beneficial to them. And that is being in line with your prayers or being in line with your actions, because we all know faith without works is dead. So it's important for you to put action into your wishes. Otherwise, it's just a dream. And we just live in a time, we've been through too much as a people. And so we live in this time where, yes, it's time to put action in and let's help one another.
And I appreciate that, because you have so much knowledge about this subject, and you just excitedly just wanted to come onto the show. And I love that, because I really believe we are helping people right now. Might have scared them a little bit, but there's also another side to it. And
Yes.
I just pray that everybody, because you have to own it. You got to
Mhm.
own it. That's the part that hurts, Irene.
Yes.
That's the part that hurts. I have to now, because now everybody's going to know how I got that car. Now everybody's going to know how I got this new house, because
Mhm.
now and I think if we can get past that part of it, lose that part of it, your pride,
Yeah. Yes.
because that is not going to get you anywhere. That's not going to get you anywhere. You have to own up to this. And what we're trying to do today is bring some information to you so you know where to start, because Irene gave you some very good advice about what you need to do tomorrow, not next week, tomorrow. Go ahead and own it and say, look, let me get ahead of this thing,
Mhm.
because then you'll have some leniency when it comes to the IRS, because they are coming for you. You might
Yes.
not be today, you might not be tomorrow, they could get you next year, but they are
Right.
coming because they see it.
Yes.
And it seems like they're overworked now with these audits. Now, let's go back into a little bit more about the audits, because we touched that a little bit, because people are saying, okay, well, what do I need to do with the audits? What exactly do I need to do? Me personally, I would allow a professional to help me.
Yes.
I would.
Yeah.
Would you agree that that's the best way to go, Irene?
Absolutely. Because most people got into this situation with a lack of knowledge. So why not have someone that has the knowledge help you out of this situation? And like you said, there's tax professionals, tax companies that allow you to hire someone to represent you in front of the IRS. So take
Yeah.
advantage of that.
And use
Like
some of that PPP money,
I was
because you're
just
going to need it.
I
You're going
was
to need
just
it.
gonna say, if you're gonna use some money, if you're gonna use a couple $100 to make sure you're out of the way of all this stuff that's coming down, do it. And if just because you touched on it, Ella, just because you haven't gotten caught yet does not mean that they won't come for you 3 years from now. So you have 3 years to amend a tax return. So they can come after you. Usually it's up to 10 years that you'll hear something from them. So that's how our mindset should be. I have the next 10 years to worry about what may or may not happen with this PPP loan. So,
Yeah. And you know what I found? You know what somebody told me too, Irene? They said, the reason that it's so important for people to get some help from someone who does this for a living is because when let's say if I were to meet with IRS, I had to meet with them. Girl, listen, they make me nervous, Irene. So I might start just telling them everything. They'd
right.
be like, wow, we didn't even ask about that.
Yes.
So that is another reason why I think it's important, because if you're like me and you just love to talk,
Mhm.
and I may talk too much, and IRS is going to be like, and they record those conversations.
Yes, they
So
do.
everything that you're saying, they can use it against you. So I'm telling you, hold on to some of that PPP money, because you're going to need it. Go
Yes.
ahead and get you a tax professional now. Get somebody, just get ahead of it. That's what we want you to do.
Yes.
Just get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it. I agree.
Now, with this stuff, this is another thing that's very important. All of this money that we're getting, stimulus checks, it feels good right now. You're
Mhm.
getting extra food stamps, you're getting unemployment, you're getting this child tax money that's getting ready to start in July. What's going to happen next year, tax time, and where does all of that go, Irene, when it's time to report your taxes?
Ooh. Next year, let me tell you, this year by far was the most difficult tax year I've ever experienced. And the worry that people have, it's at an all-time high. Like people who got unemployment and, just didn't know what to do. They just didn't know. Next year is going to be very similar. I can almost bank it might be worse because there was so much this last year. So we got we got the PPP, some unemployment, I think 2019, some of these things, but we kept getting them. So I think this year, with how people spent, I think the year before, people did spend more on catching up with bills, with rent, all this stuff. This year we're in right now, it's a lot of people spending this money on leisure, trips. I've never seen so many people go to Miami from California. This year alone, it's like this
Really? They're coming to Florida,
crazy,
huh?
yeah, just this crazy thing. It's like every week I see people on my social media like, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Florida. And I know a lot of people are actually, getting their bodies done with a lot of this money and everything. And I try to, what people decide to do with themselves, that's not my business per se. But what I do like people to think about is your family set up correctly before you make these large purchases, no matter what the purchase is. So for those of you out there who, if next tax season, you need to be getting on top of that right now. All of your, if you got unemployment and you did not take out the percentages that you should have, You need to start putting that money aside right now, because a lot of people last year, or when we filed for them this year, um, they did not take out anything for their taxes, and they ended up getting less of a refund anyway than they normally would. So a lot of you guys need to think about that. If you got 12,000 or less in unemployment, you need at least 10% that you're taking out, 10 to 12%. And if you got more than that, then you need to start taking 15 to 18% out. It's a very easy calculation, guys. You're just going to take your number and you're going to times it by point whatever percent, 0.12, 0.15, and that should give you what your taxes will be. It should give you a pretty good estimate of it. You guys do that. Get ahead of it right now. It'll
You
help
may
your
have to
tax
post that.
preparers.
You may
Yes,
have to post that formula, because
I
most
sure
people are
will.
like, well, listen, Irene, I need all my money now, baby girl. That's what they're saying. I need it now, and I get it. I get it. But at the same time, guys, we got to do better,
Yeah, we do.
because too many of us are going down for this type of stuff. And it's just because we don't know. But
It
after
is.
tonight's broadcast, you can't use that excuse, because we have Irene here, and thank God that she had time to come onto the broadcast to share all of this. Now, I mean, I've learned a lot from you, because I'm just like, what? It makes me check myself,
Yes,
because I'm like, okay, I'm so glad that I didn't do this. I'm so glad that I asked this question. I'm so glad that I kept good records, because that's a part of it too. And that's, that's something I want to address very briefly too, Irene. What's a good thing for people to start doing now, moving forward? Because we'll have more tax seasons, especially this one coming up. It's going to be very important with all this money coming. What is something that they need to start practicing now to make sure they're ready for next tax season?
record keeping.
Right.
Record keeping, you guys. There's a lot of free systems out there. I'll give you one. It's called Wave Apps. Wave, WAVE apps, apps.com. They have a free personal bookkeeping on there. They also have a free one for your business. And what you can do is you can put all your bills in there. You can put away what you would be paying in taxes. You can just keep track. Money management is what's the most important. And so you guys make sure that you're keeping track of your spending. If you own a business, you need that stuff anyway, and it's important. Start doing it now. I have clients that make tons of money, and their bookkeeping is off. And I'm like, if we don't start this now, we're going to have a problem by the end of the year and starting next year. So that's really important. Make sure your paperwork is together. Anything that you get that's a document, please have a file. A lot of people get documents and they're just like, you know what, I don't know where I put it this year. Grab a file. They have them at Target, Walmart, $7, and start putting your important papers in there. That way you're prepared. Most people stress during tax season because they're ill prepared. It's not because they owe thousands of dollars. Sometimes they think they do, but mostly it's because they don't have everything together. And so when you don't have things together, you're like, what am I supposed to do? Start doing it now, because if we hadn't learned anything, it's that this pandemic, none of us were prepared for it. And
Right.
so we don't know now that we've seen what is capable of happening, we
Yeah.
need to make sure that we're dotting all of our I's, crossing all of our T's moving forward. And as the saying goes, one of my favorite quotes, failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
To fail.
Yes.
And and that's very good advice. And another thing too, don't claim kids that aren't yours. I'm
Please
just
don't.
saying, don't be tempted by that, because it just, I can't stress
Imagine
this one enough.
Imagine, and you're so right, because imagine those children actually needing aid, and
Yeah.
because you want to claim them and get a few $1,000s extra, now that parent is not going to be able to get aid for their children, Medi-Cal for their children, food stamps for their children. because they want to get 500 or 1,000 off of that. It's not worth it. If you are using the system right now for your benefit, then do that and make a solid game plan to change the narrative, because you get to write your story. And when you take full control of that, guys, it'll change your life, because you get to decide what you want to do in this life and how you want to do it. And I just would hate to see children losing out on something they don't have control over.
I know.
And you getting their earned income credit. Most of these kids have enough intelligence to be like, no, I don't want to lose what I do have. That is the few things that we have, because someone wants to be greedy at the end of the day.
So let me ask you a question. And now that we're talking about that, so if that person opts out on these benefits because they're the ones that's going to have to pay it back, not the mom. And that's the thing I want the moms to realize, is that you pimped out your kids for a few $1,000s. And now with the pandemic, with all of this aid that there is to take advantage of, you can't take advantage of it because someone else claimed your kids. Is there any way around that, Irene?
There is no way around it. And each year we get closer and closer to like not being able to fraud, at some point. I mean, they're in the talks right now of like omitting all of it, of getting rid of all of it, like for good. These are topics that have been talked about.
What do you mean when you say getting rid of all of it? What do you mean?
Like there's talks right now where the government is trying to fizzle out food stamps, trying to fizzle out cash aid. And we already know they fizzled it out enough to where you only get 5 years, 60 months, I believe it is, to get aid. So they're trying to fizzle it out to where it's not available anymore. We have talks of Social Security. Is it going to be here when most people retire coming up?
Yeah.
So like right now is the time more than ever for us to get, our finances in order, because if next year they say, you know what, we don't have enough money. They've already cut food stamps by what, 300 or 400 million dollars. So imagine if next year they say, you know what, we're cutting food stamps another 300 million. What's that going to leave? So if we prepare for that now, and you guys understand this, then we can move forward in how we're going to be self-sufficient.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you for coming onto the broadcast. If you have any questions, because we are definitely going to bring you back, Irene.
Thank you.
Definitely, because the next thing is we have given people, some information to get out of this situation with these PPP loans. Now we have to offer them a solution as far as, okay, you lost that money. It wasn't yours to begin with. Get over it. Hold your head up. Now let's make some real money.
Let's make some real money,
because, that was just temporary. It's going to run out at some point, especially if you're going on vacations and fixing bodies and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to definitely bring you back. I've enjoyed this conversation with you. It's almost like I don't want to go, but I don't want to, I don't want to wear out my welcome. I don't want to just, she'd be like, I'm not going on the Ella Johnson show anymore. She talks too much. Right.
Oh, I love it.
I want you to, that's the thing that makes it so awesome between the two of us, because we both love to talk and we both love to help people. Listen, guys, you don't have to be stomped by this. Yeah, we wanted to give this information. It shocked a little bit, but there is a way out. Okay, there is a way out, but you have to do your part. We brought the information to you. Now it's up to you to do the right thing from this point on. Is there anything else that you would like to share? I want to talk about your business, what you do from day to day, and how people can reach out to you if they have any business questions.
Absolutely. So guys, I have a business, Achieve It Business Solutions. It's very unique in the type of business it is, because it is a all-in-one business. So we do everything from taxes to helping start businesses to resume workshops and teaching people how to get jobs, and we've done hundreds of those. And this business was formed because, like most of you, I didn't really have anyone to guide me. Books guided me. Um, Motivational speakers that I never met guided me. And the people who were in my direct surroundings did not, whether they wanted to or not, they didn't know how to gift me with the things that I needed to move forward. And so I created this company because I felt like it's so stressful trying to do your taxes or having some help to get a job or starting a business. What if there was this company where you could kind of go there for almost anything and build that rapport? And you know, if I helped you start your business, well, I already know what your finances look like. So I can help you set up all of that and do your taxes at the end of the year. So things like that were important to me. And I'm on my 3-month anniversary of being full-time in my
Yay!
business. Thank you.
Yay!
Best
Congratulations.
decision I made in my life. I've
Good for
already
you.
superseded where I was at in my career, and I was making pretty good money. And so I just want to help people. And it's a beautiful thing when you can help people and make good money doing it. It's a win-win for everybody. So for those of you who have any other questions, if you got this PPP loan and you're like, you know what, actually, I do want to start a legitimate business and you don't really know where to start, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I am on Instagram and on Facebook at Achieve It Business Solutions. You can also, my head is, I got it right here. You can also call the business line 1-800-371-1737. And there's the website right there, you guys. And just reach out, and whatever I can do to assist you along the way, I'd be happy to. And Ella, I am so, so very thankful for you reaching out to me and giving me a chance to just explain some things to people. You are phenomenal. I've looked into, all that you do, being an author and having this show. This is such a great platform to educate people. So I would be honored to have the opportunity to come back, and thank you so
You're
much.
family now. Once you
Right.
come to this show,
Yes.
because there's going to be so many different topics, and I will remember you. Also, Irene is going to be good for
Yes.
this. We got to bring her on, because we're a community, and
Yes.
this is not about me. This is about us, for us,
Yes.
by us, and I believe in that. I believe in helping everybody too. So that's why this is a God thing right here.
Yes.
It's a
Yes,
good
it
thing,
is.
but it's a God thing too.
Yes.
Listen, if you're out there, you have a pulse, you have a purpose. All right. I'm going to say that again, because everybody starts to feeling a little some kind of way at some point in your life. I did. I'm sure Irene did at some point, but you can't stop there, because if you're still living, you still have a reason to live. You have a purpose, and you just got to delve into it and find out what yours is. Yours may not look like mine or Irene's, but you just have to seek God for that, because it's time to start doing it. I think that the pandemic, even though it was horrible, a lot of people died, Irene, but I think there's some good things that came out of it too. We were able to do some heart checks, some gut checks,
Oh, yes.
And I just want to say to the families that have lost someone in this pandemic, since we're talking about it, we apologize. We're sorry for your loss. And we're sorry for everything that you've had to go through as a result of this pandemic. Like Irene said, none of us were ready for this. We were just like, whoa, okay, well, let's roll with it. But we don't want to roll the wrong way and end up in prison, because it would be a shame to have gone through the pandemic, survived it, and then end up in jail because we got a little greedy. All right. So that's what this show is all about. Anything else, dear, you want to say before we go?
Thank you guys for tuning in. It has been a pleasure. And I really hope that you guys were able to take something away. If none of this applies to you, please share this show with anyone. Share it on your platform, because somebody else needs to hear it, even if it doesn't apply to you. So please educate people, share this knowledge, and let us just have a ripple effect of growth. That's what it's all about. And Ella, you were absolutely right. This pandemic was horrible in so many ways, but there was so many heart checks and so much fire that came out of people to live. You know, for
Yeah.
those of us who have made it out, it's time to live, you guys.
Hmm.
So let's do it. Let's get it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get it. Well, I am having a birthday tomorrow, so I'm very excited. I plan to enjoy the day, but I want to see a lot of you guys tomorrow, and just let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thank God for another year, and for all
Yeah.
of those that are Geminis. Happy birthday to all of you who have yet to experience your birthday, and those of you who already have, happy birthday. So that's it. With nothing else, we're going to get out of here. Everybody, good night. We'll see you
Bye.
next
Good
time
night.
right here on the Ella Johnson Show next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, YouTube and Facebook Live. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show.